So I'm very excited to introduce, actually I'm going to introduce them as a couple. They're wonderful, wonderful people. I actually remember going to the school in its very early days. So Chandrasekhara, who will be speaking first, he took Harinam from Srila Gurudeva in 2002 and Diksha in 2003, and his wife Dahlia, she took Harinam in 2004 and Diksha in 2010. And the school that they have manifested by Gurudev's grace, called the Golden Avatar, started with only 20 pupils in 2009, is now 60 and is growing fast. And it's a beautiful testament to Gurudev's love and mercy and Shakti, that this school is so well, beautifully managed and is blossoming so well. And they are really dedicated people. It's not easy opening a school and managing a school in Navadvip, and they've had so many obstacles along the way, and they have overcome them all with aplomb, in a beautiful way. So I'm actually quite humbled to present them, because their seva is really magnificent, and we're very happy that a whole number of their pupils are gathered with them to support their glorification, which is even more beautiful. So I'm really excited to hear them make a good raucous noise, I hope, in support of this glorification. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna Dini. I'm going to mute myself and relish your katha. You need to unmute.
Dandavat pranams, Prabhu. Dandavat devotees. Namashestam manamabi satchiputram matur surupam rupam tasyagrajim muruparim maturim goshtavatim radha kundam girivarmaho radhika madhavacham prapto yasya pritid kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. So, first of all, I'd like to offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Vishnu Pada Shtatarashati Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj, unto the Guru Parampara, and to all the devotees assembled throughout the world. Please accept my Dalva pranams. Also, I'd like to thank you, Prabhuji, for giving this opportunity for our purification to glorify our beloved spiritual master. So, it's not easy to glorify Sadhguru. It's not easy to glorify Vaishnava. It requires some realization. And although to say I have no realization would be ungrateful, largely I'll be speaking from my own experiences and express a little bit of the transformation that has come in my life by the mercy of Srila Gurudeva. So I remember it was about 20 years ago, I first read in Science of Self-Realization, Krishna consciousness is a sublime process. And I was kind of thinking, what does this mean, sublime process? And then something clicked, oh yeah, I've heard that word, sublime. Oh yeah, we heard it in chemistry. Like when a solid transforms directly into a gas, it skips the stage of liquid. That's why carbon dioxide is called dry ice. There's no liquid stage. It jumps straight from the solid state to the gaseous state. So when I read this line, Krishna consciousness is a sublime process, I thought, nah, it can't mean anything like that. It just must mean it's something special. But gradually, it was impressed upon me a little bit of what Srila Prabhupada was saying when he said sublime process. So it said in the Shastras, Nayamatma pravachinina labhyo na medhya na bhunashidena Yam eva shivinirtene labhyas tasesha atma virinute tanam svam. That the Lord is not known by so much learning, so much study of the Shastras, hearing so much pravichan. Actually, he can only be known to whom he reveals himself. And the same is true for the Vaishnav. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Amito Durbhaga Oti Vaishnava na chini. Also in our Gori Giti Guch, we can find the song, Kobe Mui Vaishnava Chinibo. When, oh when, will I recognize a Vaishnava? So it was 2002, and I'd been in Australia, Perth, associating with ISKCON devotees for some time, and I'd started reading books of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And somewhere I got the idea in my mind, I should try and find a Sadguru. That sounds about right. You know, I had no real understanding what this meant. So by some fortune, one devotee said to me, there's a chance for some sadhu sangha in Mulamba. And that was the year that Srila Gurudeva spoke the class that later became the book Gurudeva. And we have this verse from 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam Diti Bhiniveshitam Shadisa Dapitasya Vipariyo Smriti Tanmayato Buddhabhaje Tan Bhaktyakiyesham Gurudeva Tatma. That fear arises from being absorbed in the secondary energy of the Lord, turning away from the Lord. And the only remedy is to perform one-pointed bhajan, making Guru our very Atma, making our heart one with Guru, Gurudeva Tatma. So this was perhaps something a little bit, a hint of what it meant that Krishna consciousness is sublime. So I had my list of questions. I had my notebook that I'd taken into many darshans with many ISKCON sannyasis to test them to see if they passed my test. And I went to meet with Gurudev, and I had there my notebook. Actually, a funny incident happened. The irony was sort of lost on me in the moment, but later devotees recounted it to me. Just as I came to Gurudev and offered Dandavat Pranams, Braji Kishori Didi was making an offering and the bell rang, and all the devotees started laughing, like, oh, here's a new devotee coming to Gurudev being offered. But I thought, what have I done? Everyone's laughing. Have I breached some etiquette? I had no idea what was going on. And I said to Gurudev, I have some questions, clutching my notebook in my hands. And he looked at me and said, okay. And I was sort of expecting that, it would be like, when I'd been to darshans before with swamis, it was like a one-on-one thing, sort of like a counseling session. I thought it would be something like that. So Gurudev saw my hesitation and he said, okay, come. It's amazing to think how, first of all, how accommodating he was. That was 2002, and there were plenty of devotees around, wanting to meet with Gurudev, wanting to have his darshan, but still, Gurudev gave all the time in the world to me. And secondly, his sense of humor. I'll never forget that. As if there was some question he wouldn't be able to answer, he took a big book, maybe the biggest book from a pile of books, and had it there in his hand, just in case he had to reference something. So there we were, and I was rattling off my questions. And there were all questions like, if we hear from an unrealized soul, is that Shabda Brahman, and can we get Tattva Vigyan from this? So many very, very mental questions. And then finally, somehow I got it in my head that it was a good idea to ask, can you make a stone-hearted person like me your disciple? And I didn't know the meaning of the words I was speaking. I was just sort of saying them. But Gurudev, while answering the question, also helped me understand what those words meant. He said, if your heart is like stone, if you have so many material desires, then I can help you. But if you're so proud, if you think you know so much, just like that. He didn't even finish the sentence. So I don't even remember really what happened next, except that sent me into a spin and I started questioning everything. You know what? I think I know something, but actually I don't understand this whole Krishna consciousness at all. I started to question everything I thought I knew. In the next few days, I even started asking myself, why have I even come here? You know, oh, Krishna, who is Krishna? Why have I even become a Hare Krishna? What's going on? So Gurudeva was doing a little bit of surgery. And somehow in the midst of all that confusion, I remembered one thing Gurudeva had said, you know, just hear Harikatha from Sadhguru. Just do sadhu sangha and hear Harikatha. Actually, Gurudeva didn't give me many direct instructions throughout my life, but this was one thing he repeated again and again. A general instruction, albeit, hear Harikatha, do sadhu sangha. So I thought, let me just try. Let me just listen really carefully. And finally, there in class, quieting my mind, and Gurudeva was speaking beautifully on the different stages of bhakti, from Jnani Bhakti, Premi Bhakti, Para Premi Bhakti, Prematura Bhakta, through going through Brihad Bhagavatamrita, comparing all the devotees with the verse Anyabhilashita Sunyam. And as I listened, then I heard that confirmation from deep within. Yes, yes, that which you seek is real. At that moment, I had the first inkling that maybe the only true thing in my life is faith. Maybe faith is all we have. I was somehow expecting to see neon lights and the skies open up and the demigods shower flowers and a big sign say, surrender here, when I met Gurudev. But somehow that didn't happen. Somehow you can't anticipate what it's like to meet a pure devotee. So it's only with the eyes of faith that we can see Sadhguru, that we can see a Vaishnava. So it was again a few years later, I had the great opportunity in Brisbane after an ecstatic festival in 2004 where Gurudev had spoken a little on Roy Ramananda Sambad. And it had finally clicked for me. You know, what is this whole, you know, Sva Bhakti Shriyam thing? And how does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how does this relate to the whole Braj Bhav and Manjari Bhav? What's the connection there? Gurudeva had explained that so nicely. Tat tat bhavi chamoy, you know, how the manjaris, you know, just like the flowers on a lota, on a creeper, you know, when the creeper moves, so do the flowers. You know, that's tat tat bhavi chamoy. There's this sort of oneness, this ekatma, just like Gurudeva Tatma. Again, this concept of ekatma, you know, this oneness. So it was in the airport as Gurudeva was leaving. I had a sort of, again, a little bit Jnani type question, but at least this time, I guess, because I was inquiring about faith, you know, I got a very, very satisfying answer. I feel like Gurudeva was reciprocating with the fact, at least now you're inquiring something, you know, close to your adhikar. You're inquiring about faith. So I'd heard Prem Prayojan Prabhu, then Narayana Maharaj, explain the verse Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that Chitta is Mahatattva. It's the most subtle element. And you know, even more subtle than false ego. It's the very connection. It's like the mirror. It's the shining mirror that the jiva glances into and starts to identify with this material world. And it also read in Jaiva Dharma that Shraddha is defined as a special tendency of the chitta towards Krishna bhakti alone. So I asked the question to Gurudeva, then how how is it that chitta, if Shraddha is a tendency of the chitta, how can this be Paramatik Shraddha? How can this be transcendental if chitta is indeed a material element of this universe? And then Gurudeva said to me, do you worship your guru's shoes? And I was a bit shocked. I thought, where's this coming from? Oh my God, Gurudeva can see right through into my soul. I'm definitely doing something wrong. I don't even have a pair of Gurudeva's shoes. I'm neglecting something very important in my bhakti. What have I missed? And Gurudev, seeing all my faults and anarthas, he's calling me out on it in front of everyone. What am I to do? Here I am thinking I'm so clever asking this question. And, Gurudev's opening my heart right there. And then Gurudev further explained, why? Why do we worship Guru's shoes? Do you know? Tadatma. And my mind was racing, Tadatma, I know that, I've heard that somewhere. It's just like Gurudeva Tatma, it's just like Tat Bhavichamoy, And then Sripad Madhav Maharaj kindly explained, it's just like when you take iron and put it into the fire, it takes on the qualities of fire. It generates light and heat. So this is Tadatma. So in the same way, the tendency of Hladini Shakti, the very spiritual Shakti itself can manifest in the consciousness of the conditioned soul by association with the pure devotees, by association with the things that are related to bhakti. And without me even realizing it at the time, Gurudev had uncovered a deep doubt in my heart about Krishna consciousness. Actually, really, what do we have but our doubts and our faith? Ultimately, the whole process of Krishna Bhakti is the condensing of faith through the stages of Bhajana Kriya Nishta Ruchi Asakti Bhav. Actually, it's all the same pure substance which comes to us by the grace of Shri Guru. But my doubt was that, well, in Krishna consciousness, we're doing so many things with our material body, with our material senses, we're offering material ingredients, and the deities appear to be made of material ingredients. So I had this doubt, I guess this anartha, like Mayavad in the heart. And Gurudev so kindly revealed this. And later in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, I read a further expansion of what Gurudev had said. Athashi Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyamindriya sevan mukhi hi jivadho swaya mevas paratyada. The material senses cannot grasp the transcendental name, form, and qualities of the Lord. But sevan mukhi hi jivadho swaya mevas paratyada. By being sevan mukh, by cultivating a tendency, a service mood towards the Lord, our senses, our minds, and our hearts can become spiritualized. So it's not easy to recognize a Vaishnava. With material eyes, it's not easy. But Gurudev gives us the eyes of faith. So Krishna consciousness is a sublime process. This is the meaning, that Krishna consciousness is a sublime process. To take the conditioned soul, who's bound in his material mind, false ego, identifying with the material elements, and to engage those elements, they themselves become spiritualized. Just as I had learned all those years ago in high school, that sublime means when a substance transcends the intermediate stage straight to the highest stage. A solid can turn straight into gas. So in the same way, Krishna consciousness is about spiritualizing our situation. It's not that we have to renounce anything. It's not that we have to get mukti and then enter into Krishna consciousness. Like it said in Srimad Bhagavatam, first we must hear the sweet leelas of the Lord, and then hridrog, then the disease of the heart will be removed. It's not that first we will give up on our anarthas and first we will become detached from this material world. Krishna consciousness spiritualizes our very existence, and that's what's meant by Krishna consciousness is a sublime process. So even in my own life, I reflect that, you know, some bogan from Perth, Western Australia, somewhere or other has come to Navadip, and I'm staying so close to Gurudeva. And he's taught us all these amazing truths, even if it's just some conception, that's all right, you know, by the association of the devotees, by hearing, by following the process of Krishna consciousness, and especially by sadhu sangha, we can come to realize all these things. Who would have thought? It's like so many acharyas prayed, Jadi Gauranga nahito tobe ki hoito, kemane dharitam de, right? If Mahaprabhu would not come, then who would have known about the love of Radha? In the same way, Jankali Rupa Sharira na dharat. If Rupa Goswami had not have come, then who would have known about the speciality of all the rasas of bhakti in Braj, all the different sweet moods? And if Gurudev had not have come, who would have known about all the very subtle stages of bhakti? Who would have understood really what is meant by Uttama Bhakti? Who would have understood what is meant by Svabhakti Sriyam? Who would have really understood the meaning of Gaudavani, what Srila Prabhupada had come to the West and teach us all? Who would have understood anything that he had said in his purports in Upadeshamrita and Chaitanya Charitamrita? I'm certain I wouldn't have understood anything at all. So these are among the very precious gifts that Gurudeva has given us all. But the most precious gift, I feel, is all the brothers and sisters that Gurudeva has given us all. The association of the devotees is incomparably sweet. And I pray to you all for your blessings, that we can continue in our service here in Navadip and try to follow the instructions of Srila Gurudeva and become successful in life. So I pray to you all for your blessings. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhu bhevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Actually, Chandrasekhar, your offering was actually sublime in its own right. And that was great. I looked it up, the dictionary meaning, spot on. It volatilizes from solid state to gas and then condenses again as a solid without passing through the liquid state. It's really beautiful. So that means Gurudeva is the chief chemist. And what we have to do is allow ourselves to be the experiment upon which the chemist is doing his experiment, which then brings into light the nature and the quality of mercy and the Damodarastakam story and the two fingers. Because although the two fingers are represented as if they're equal, they may be equal to our relative strength, but actually Guru and Krishna is doing so much more. It's like, can we actively participate in a state of grace, but offering ourselves with the passivity to be experimented on? It feels like an ambiguous state of being, but it kind of makes sense ontologically. Can we be in that vessel for the chemist to perform his experiment? All we need to do is we need to put ourselves under that rain cloud of grace, and then we can be, then we can be sublimed, as it were. So he is subliming us. Beautiful, really beautiful. Thank you. That was really, really beautiful.